Charles McGonigal, who is the former FBI agent in charge of the New York FBI's counterintelligence division, indicted for working with sanctioned Kremlin-connected oligarch Oleg Deripaska. Now, I want you to think back. First off, people who have been listening to this program for a long time know I've been, at various times, generally when it's like a late night show and I've been drinking too much, I will sometimes sort of mention this half-baked theory of mine, which centered around what a reporter from the Village Voice, oh God, I can't even remember his name now. Oh God.
Legend.
Yes, a legend, and he interviewed him many times over the years, and he covered Donald Trump quite a bit.
Wayne Barrett?
Yes, of course. It was Wayne Barrett. Wayne, unfortunately, passed away literally the day before Donald Trump was elected. And he was probably the most knowledgeable reporter about Donald Trump over the years that have been covering him in New York City. And everything he had said, both in terms of I think when we interviewed him on this program over the summer, maybe once or twice, and in other conversations I had with him, it was all Felix Seder. Felix Seder, Felix Seder, Felix Seder. Felix Seder was worked for Donald Trump at one point as a special something. He had a business card. His office was in Donald Trump, in the Trump Towers. He was also apparently, based upon an affidavit filed by Loretta Lynch, who was at that time in the Eastern District of Manhattan, USA Attorney's Office, an asset for the FBI and the CIA. And people forget, but in the run-up to the election in 2016, there was a lot of weird stuff coming out of the New York FBI office. There was, at one point, stories about there being a mutiny against Comey in the coming out of the New York FBI office, because they were aware that he was investigating Trump. At one point in 2016, the New York Times had a big story entitled "Investigating Donald Trump, the FBI sees no clear link to Russia." That was October 31st, 2016. And that came out of the New York FBI office. Someone else who was very close with the New York FBI office was Rudy Giuliani, responsible, as you know, for rolling up the Italian mob in New York City when he was AG. Just coincidentally, after the Italian mob went away, there was a new mob that came in, which just happened to be the Russian mob. Maybe a coincidence. But there was Giuliani had a very close relationship with the guy who ran the post 9/11 New York FBI office. And it turns out now that the top counterterrorism official in that office charged with money laundering, which Felix Seder was supposedly running a money laundering operation that would maybe, perhaps, end at the Trump organization. Doesn't necessarily mean that Trump was involved. But Seder supposedly was the one who got the CIA Osama bin Laden's cell phone number, which is how they ultimately ended up tracking him. So the point of this was that I had always speculated, again, half-baked theory, saying that right up front, said it every time I've said it, because outside of these elements, nothing else is established. But that I just was sensitive to, what we had in Massachusetts with a Massachusetts FBI office, which was a Whitey Bulger situation, where they allowed an asset to do some horrible things, but were protecting that asset because they were protecting themselves. And there's a lot of strings around that have never been pulled. And
Have they specified what the money laundering charge entails?
He was taking secret, he was at least conspiring to violate U.S. sanctions on Russia by taking secret payments from a Russian oligarch, Deripaska, in return for investigating a rival oligarch.
That's just that. I
don't know. Maybe he just developed that type of relationship out of the blue.
That oligarch, Oleg Deripaska, does he have a relationship with Seder?
I don't know, but they all seem to swim into certain. I think Manafort had a relationship with that guy. They all seem to swim in the same sort of like a swampiness. So we'll see. We shall see.
And Donald Trump was basically openly cheating on his taxes and doing a lot of other crap for years that never got investigated.
Well, that's the thing, is that you would imagine that there would have been investigations on a guy who was so clearly problematic. And from like 1970...
And in the public eye with it, too.
In the public eye, and there was, they wouldn't give him a license because of gambling stuff down in Atlantic City. There was problems there, and then all of a sudden things got smoothed out. They had a consent decree from the Department of Justice in the early 70s because they weren't renting places to black people, the Trump organization. And then no local district attorney, no state AG, no U.S. attorney in two of the most active U.S. attorney's offices in the country.
In their backyard.
The Manhattan DA, no one ever brought a case. Investigations would come, and then all of a sudden they just sort of melt away. So who knows? But we will see. We will see.